Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are rejoined by Clarisse Loughrey, our resident Star Wars expert who does not get paid enough. So today we're going to be ranking all of the Star Wars films, something a bit different. So basically how it's going to work is we're going to use a classic tier list. It's going to have all the films on it, and all we need you to do, Clarisse, is pick where you want to put them. And then at the end, we're going to get to overrule you on one film each, and we'll see where we end up. Sound good?
Okay, it sounds good. I'm trying to guess which ones I'm going to be overruled on. I feel like I know, but we'll see.
Cool.
Okay.
So here we have the list, all the categories. We've got Grandmaster, Council Member, Master, Jedi Knight, Padawan, and Youngling.
Okay.
Cool. So we will. So sorry, go on if you want to say something.
Oh, is the implication of Youngling that this is a pre-murdered young? Is the implication that if I put something in the Youngling category, it's getting murdered?
Well, that wasn't the original idea, but now you've said it, we can sprinkle a bit of genocide in there if you like. Completely up to you. Whatever context.
What else happens to younglings? This is what we know happens in Star Wars. They get murdered by Anakin.
Yikes. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So we'll start off with the first one, the classic, Star Wars, released in 1977, the film that kicked it all off, George Lucas's love child. Where do you want to put it, Clarisse?
I'm gonna put it, because I don't want to just put everything at the top, because that's gonna be boring. Because I kind of just want to do that because it's Star Wars and I love all of it. I think I would put A New Hope / Star Wars at the council member level, because I mean, it's hard because obviously this is the one that kicked everything off, so it's kind of mean to be like, meh. But I have always felt like it was superseded by what came after. Not to preview what is going to go at the top level. But so yeah, that's why I kind of don't want to put it in the top level, because the movie that came out right after it is better. Still great though. Still very great because it introduced everybody.
Strong start.
Okay, so moving on, Solo, a Star Wars story, released in 2018. The standalone Han Solo movie, not featuring Harrison Ford. But where does it rank for you, Clarisse?
I have such a love-hate relationship with Solo, because aspects of it are really good. Like, I personally think Alden Ehrenreich was like chef's kiss, perfect choice for that role. Donald Glover, chef's kiss, perfect choice for that role. And like their chemistry in it, and there are little moments in it that are really great, but also I think it's so let down by that ridiculous incessant need to explain things about Han Solo, like the line where he is getting registered for the Imperial Army, and he says, what's your name? And he goes, Han, and no last name. And so the guy just types in Solo because he's alone. Did you get that? He's Han Solo because he's alone. So I'm kind of perpetually torn by the two aspects of Solo, kind of the goodness and the terribleness just all sitting together in one thing. I think I want to put it in Night, because I think the bad stuff is so like, oh my God. I also have a real problem with the Kira storyline, because she spends the whole movie being like, hey, Han, I did this really terrible thing. This thing that is so bad. Oh my God, Han, when you find out about this terrible thing I did, you're going to be so mad at me. And then we never find out what she did. Like, I'm assuming she killed younglings, because why else would you like keep going on about how you did something really bad? I don't know.
Yeah, true.
People keep telling me it's just that she, like, are we allowed to do spoilers? Or I'm assuming.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No one watches us anyway. It's fine.
I'm assuming people keep telling me, oh, it's because the Darth Maul connection, that's the bad thing. And it's like, but that's not, no. Because she kept being like, I did a bad thing. Like, I did something. I did something bad, and you're gonna like it. So that's why it's in Night, because of the unresolved Kira storyline, which really bugs me.
Okay, so moving on, the final of the original films, released in, what it hit, 1983, Return of the Jedi, obviously famous and notorious for the Ewoks, which the highlight of any Star Wars fan, I'm sure. Where do you want to put it?
I love the Ewoks. No Ewok slander. Look, I know that they're tiny little bears, but they're tiny little bears that eat people. And people always forget that they eat stormtroopers, and they're gonna eat like Luke and Han and everybody. So I like the Ewoks. I think the pacing of it is kind of weird though. I don't know if it is just something compared to how tight like New Hope and Empire Strikes Back are, and then Return of the Jedi, they're like, oh, we can't go do the Jabba thing, and then we gotta do this, and then the Ewoks, and then it sort of all gets there at the end, obviously, because you sort of end on you know, the final victory and wrapping up like 3 movies worth of storyline. But I've always thought that Return of the Jedi is the least good of the original trilogy, so I want to say Master. Am I providing sufficient explanations? I don't know how like deep in I need to go.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay. People
So
get what I'm talking about, right? Because it's
I would imagine the 4 people that watch this have all seen Star Wars. I would be it'd be weird if they hadn't.
Good.
4 people, wow, we're going up, David.
We've doubled overnight. 2002's Attack of the Clones, the second of the prequel trilogy. Thoughts on this movie?
That's the Youngling one, right?
Right at the very bottom.
Yeah, because I mean, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to talk about this, not talking about the other ones. But Phantom Menace is at least kind of cute. I like the pod race. There's a simplicity to it that semi works. Then Revenge of the Sith at least has like the drama of like, I loved you, no, I have a higher ground. Like it has such an operatic intensity to it that some of that stuff does work. Attack of the Clones is like just nothing. Like it's just there's stuff going on, but it doesn't have either of those qualities. It's just like blah. Here is all this plot, and here's this dialogue about sand that is so. I think that's the other problem, is that Attack of the Clones is meant to be like the romance movie, but George Lucas can't really write romance. Apologies to that man, but it's such a like deeply unbelievable romance, and like I know everyone always wants to blame Hayden Christensen for it, but I don't know how you deliver the line, I don't like sand. I like you can give it to Denzel Washington and he's not gonna say it convincingly, because nobody, when they're trying to seduce a woman, is like, I don't like sand, baby. Want to hook up? So you know, I kind of do want to put the blame on George Lucas for that, also because like he did so many other great things that kind of balances out a little bit more. I just feel like it's mean to target Hayden Christensen because like the man did the best that he could. So yeah, I think that's gotta go. That's the worst one, right?
I think so. What about the lightsaber battle at the end? Does it save it slightly?
No, because I think the lightsaber battles, and I'm gonna be honest, I think the lightsaber battles in the prequels are like, ugh. I don't know. I know that's going to be really controversial because I know people love the Darth Maul fight, but like it's interesting because you look at the lightsaber battles in the originals, and they're like, they didn't really have the intensity of choreography that the new ones do, so they're kind of simple, they don't last very long. It's more about the emotions of the characters, and that's good with me. Then you look at the new movies, and what I do like about the sequel trilogy is the lightsaber battles. You feel the effort, like you really feel like the I don't know, like you feel that like what the actual lightsaber is, which is this like this stick of pure heat. and and so it takes like a lot of effort to wield it, and you see it on Ridley's face, which they're, you know, where they're, her and Kylo Ren are kind of, I don't know what that, you know, when they're together, whatever that's called, they're like hitting and they're both trying to push it, and you see like such weariness and effort on their faces. But then like, and I get that this was on purpose because they wanted to do kind of a martial arts sort of acrobatic approach to it, but like it doesn't make me impressed by the idea of a lightsaber, because you just go pew, 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 and it doesn't mean anything. It's just a stick. That's it. In the prequels, the lightsabers are sticks. And you just twirl it around and you don't have to worry about it, because it, you know, like you can't just twirl them around, because it's heat. It's pure heat. And you're being careless with it. So I know that's a controversial opinion, but that is my take on the prequel lightsaber battles.
Fair enough. I mean, you're wrong, but fair enough.
I
Right.
know.
Episode.
But look, I have different priorities when it comes to Star Wars. Like, I'm not a Boba Fett lightsaber battle person, and I know that that is a type of person who enjoys Star Wars. So fair play to anyone who is that sort of fan.
Fair enough indeed. So, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, brought it all back, 1999. The hype around this film at the time, even though I wasn't actually born, was immense, to say the least. I don't know how old you are, but maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. What are your thoughts on this film?
Yeah, I was born. I was born at the time. I was wait, because it came out in 1998, right? I think I was 7 when it came out. Very excited, very loved it. Thought Jar Jar Binks was very funny. funny lizard man, haha. And I had a Queen Amidala doll that I was obsessed with, because I was just obsessed with the hair. It was her kind of throne room gown with the giant kind of circular headpiece with the gold and the red, and I was really obsessed with the wig, and I just wanted to know how I could have it. Like, how could my hair be like that? And I pondered over that for many hours with my Queen Amidala doll. So yeah, I do have like a level of nostalgia attached to the Phantom Menace, because by the time Attack of the Clones came out, I guess I grew out of it or something, because I distinctly remember sitting down to watch it. I think a stormtrooper was sitting next to me, and like within 3 minutes of the movie starting, I remember my brain going, oh no. Oh no. I was excited for this. What's happening? So, but do I want to put it in night? Because that might be being too kind to it if I put it that high, because it is quite racist in parts of Phantom Menace. So I think I'm gonna put it in Padawan. That's where it will live. You don't get death, Phantom Menace. But you get a tiny little braid. So enjoy that.
Maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but with the Phantom Menace, has Jar Jar Binks aged better than a young Anakin? Do you think? Maybe.
I've never had a problem with young Anakin. Like, all child actors are usually like a little bit annoying. That's the facet of being a child. Children are kind of annoying. So I don't know. I've never like had any issue with him. I thought he was just being like a small child. Again, the writing is not great, so he's doing the best that he can with the, I can't remember that line about when he sees Padme and he's like, "You're an angel," or something weird like that. But yeah, the thing with Jar Jar Binks is that, you know, George Lucas has always said that he made the character for kids, and I was a kid who liked Jar Jar Binks, so he was successful in that aspect. I don't know. I haven't asked any children of today how they feel about Jar Jar Binks, but I feel like the adults always disliked him, and that has just been the case throughout every decade. I think, you know, there was a lot of like the cruelty and the spite that was directed toward Ahmed Best, which was deeply not okay. People have definitely had an awakening about that, and I know that like he's been quite open about talking about the abuse he received, and I think that like helped some elements of the Star Wars fandom kind of wake up to maybe past actions. I don't know. I feel like there's been a little bit of healing there, like a little bit. And like when I've been to Star Wars Celebration, you know, when it was possible to have it, he would sometimes be a guest and he would get an incredibly warm reception because, again, he did the best that he could with the material that he was given. And it was so crazy that the actors got blamed for this stuff. And not that George Lucas deserves any abuse, because that's ridiculous. Like, it's just a movie. But still, like, I always found it so odd that everyone just targeted the actors, because I guess they were the face on screen and it's easier to be mad at them. I don't know.
No, that's well said. The latest Star Wars film to be released, The Rise of Skywalker, featuring the one and only Babu Frick. Where does this rank for you?
Oh, Rise of Skywalker. The thing with this movie is that so when I saw it at the press screening, it was just after Cats, so that was an interesting combo. I don't know, it was interesting because I felt incredibly torn, because the thing for Rise of Skywalker for me is, if you came into that movie having not seen the previous two, maybe having some vague grasp of what a Star Wars is, just went to watch that movie in isolation, I think you would have a pretty good time, because I would argue like some of the pacing is quite good. I like that he really gets into that old-fashioned like MacGuffin adventure quality, which he's kind of like nicely old-fashioned. And I also really appreciate that J.J. Abrams brought in what to me is the most crucial element of Star Wars, and it's the idea of like the underdog coming together, like the oppressed people coming together to like fight back against their oppressors. And so I do love that scene of all the ships coming together, and it's like, yeah, like, you know, on your own you're just one person, but together you can do anything. That's all great. But as a film that is intended to end the Skywalker saga and also be a follow-up to The Last Jedi, it was nonsense. None of it made sense. It seemed like, I don't know, I remember watching it for the first time and being like, am I hallucinating this? Because some of the stuff, when they're, you know, the Palpatine granddaughter thing, I was like, am I hallucinating this? Because this seems like a weird fan theory that you would get on Reddit, and you'd be like, there's no way they're gonna do that. That's too weird and it's too obvious, and like, it can't be that. It'll be something more complicated. And then the fact that J.J. Abrams went, no, yeah, we're doing it. She's fully we've just decided Palpatine's back. It's her granddad. Like, Reylo's gonna happen, but then he's gonna die immediately afterwards, so they don't even get why would you make the Reylos happy and then disappoint them like 3 minutes later? Like, presumably that's why they did that. It was like, why if you're gonna do that, just let them be happy. And I know they couldn't be happy because he did do like a genocide and should probably pay for that. I don't know, but yeah, like and the whole thing with Kelly Marie Tran just being like no screen time is outrageous. Like I don't know, like I don't know how anyone was. I mean, I don't know, it's just ridiculous. And I really hate caving into sort of like conspiracy theories around Star Wars and Disney, but I do wonder how much of that film was a bit of a panic on the Star Wars creative team about the reaction to The Last Jedi, which is so silly to me because angry people on the internet are such a small percentage of the movie going population. And like my father, who like occasionally goes to see a Star Wars movie, he thought The Last Jedi was fine. And that is like the prevailing opinion of that is true for all the Star Wars movies. Like most people are like, they're fine. And so the idea that any element of the Rise of Skywalker might have been changed as a reaction to The Last Jedi, and that is very much a theory. I don't know how much it holds water, but even the fact that that sounds vaguely plausible, I hate it. So that was a very long way of saying I'll go and put it in Padawan with the concession that just as a movie it's all right. It's actually okay.
Fair enough. I wasn't expecting that. So we'll go for the first anthology film released in 2016, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I think a bit different when it was released. I certainly wasn't expecting it to be sort of what it was. Where does it rank for you?
I have a lot of affection for Rogue One because Jyn Erso is like the most I've ever related to a Star Wars character, because she's kind of annoying. And I'm like, oh, that's me. That's me. Oh, I'd be the person who's like, I'm a rebel. Yeah, I'm so cool. And I'm gonna steal this. I hate that Cassian Andor tells her rebellions are built on hope at one point in the movie, and then in the meeting scene she just steals it. And she tells everybody rebellions are built on hope, and then everyone's like, wow, that's so inspirational, Jyn Erso. You've such a brilliant mind. And she never gives him credit. So I don't know, I think the part of myself that doesn't like myself like really relates to Jyn Erso. But I genuinely I thought Rogue One was really good and a really promising start for this idea of breaking out of the Skywalker saga, because I mean, I love Gareth Edwards. I thought Godzilla was really, really good and brilliant and incredibly atmospheric. And I think he did actually bring a lot of that sensibility to Rogue One. There is this, I don't know, like a constant and quite intense sense of like impending mortality, which is why like when people start dying, it's really like hits you hard, because you've had this like shadow of something awful like building up the whole way through the movie, but your brain goes, nah, they're not going to kill everybody in a Star Wars movie. That's ridiculous. They wouldn't do that. It's a kids franchise. But knowing full well that these people can't survive because like it wouldn't make sense in the timeline. So yeah, so I think like just being bold enough to being like, hey, this is going to be like a sort of, I just, parts of it are funny, but it's also a semi-serious, like atmospheric, doomy war movie. And like I love the shot of the AT-AT coming out of the smoke. Like that's a real Godzilla moment. I thought it was going to be Godzilla, and I was like, that would have been a twist. Godzilla's in Star Wars now. So yeah, I think like all of that stuff together, it's just so it did genuinely feel really different for Star Wars. So I don't know. I'm kind of, wait, what else have we got left? I think I'm gonna put it in council member, because I do think it's one of the best new ones, because it was just doing something a bit different, and props to that.
Fair enough.
Okay. Up next, The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, so this is my favorite Star Wars movie, so we're going Grandmaster. I feel like that's not controversial. Just because it has two of my absolute favorite scenes, which is the training stuff with Yoda and him lifting the X-Wing out of the water. And when it's like when Luke tells him, he's like, I don't believe that. And Yoda's like, and that is why you fail. And it's like, yes. and the way that it's so great, because when you first meet Yoda, he's just like a little Muppet. Like he's a little Kermit asshole. Digging around in the things, going such a little asshole. And I imagine like it must have like completely blown people's minds when they first saw it, and to be like, look at this little Muppet asshole. He turns out to be the great Jedi Master. And the fact that like he can, and Frank Oz gave such a brilliant performance in this, that he can switch so suddenly and be like, okay, now I am tiny green Buddha. And I'm gonna say all these beautifully written lines. So you've got that, and then we've also got the Han and Leia love story. I think is so good in this, and the I love you, I know scene, the whole carbonite freezing. It's so dramatic. It's so like old-fashioned passion, romance, adventure. And the way I think as well that Harrison Ford is like so he's so cocky, he's fully Han Solo for the whole movie, and then just for that line there is this incredible sense of vulnerability to him suddenly. It makes me cry like every time I watch it, just of how perfectly acted that moment is. So yeah, that, and like other things like Darth Vader being the dad line, stuff like that, but that's Empire Strikes Back.
The Force Awakens, the first sequel, released in 2015. This one gets a bit of stick because it's sort of seen as a bit of a copy of A New Hope, but that's just is what it is. Where would you put it?
Yeah, it's sort of like safe and good. Comforting. I do understand why they made it like that though, because they were kind of coming off the back of the prequels, and really, I guess up until that point, or at least Disney's purchase of Lucasfilm, I feel like everyone thought Star Wars was just sort of over, right? Like that was it. It was never going to come back. Like the franchise had ended. It was, and people felt that way about Indiana Jones as well, I guess, until it happened to not be the case. So I kind of get them having to go, right, we kind of have to reintroduce the world to the concept of Star Wars. So let's sort of create something that is familiar, in the sense that like here's a new Death Star. I mean, they say it's Starkiller Base, but it's just a Death Star 3. Here's the characters you love. It's Leia and Han, they're back. And our villain is their son, but he's obsessed with Darth Vader, so he just kind of looks like Darth Vader a little bit, but the mask is slightly redesigned. But I feel like the film did at least change enough things that it feels really interesting and fresh. Like I love Rey. I think Rey was such a beautifully conceived character. And I think Finn and Poe as well were really beautifully conceived characters. Like I know there were issues with their storyline sort of across the entire trilogy, but just as characters to be sort of introduced to for the first time, like I remember just feeling so instantly attached to all of them. I was like, oh, these people, I love them. I love them instantly. So like I feel like I want to give props to Force Awakens. I'll put it in Master because I think it's really on the same level as Return of the Jedi for me. Like great stuff, but also like, well, I guess that is more because Force Awakens is safe, where Return of the Jedi is a little bit like bloop, 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 you know.
So next, the penultimate film on our list, the last of the prequel trilogy, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I think I kind of see like Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith being sort of on the same level, and then there's like Attack of the Clones hanging out beneath. Because I do like the drama. I like the drama of like Anakin's turn to the dark side. That is one aspect of the prequels I think is good. I think is actually really good and well conceived, and I think the politics of the Jedi in the prequels are really interesting because George Lucas was so keen to not show them as just like the heroes were great all the time, to show this sort of very old-fashioned kind of self-obsessed group of religious zealots who, you know, the key moment in the Phantom Menace is they go to pick Anakin up and it's like, oh, we could save your mother from slavery, but like it wasn't really our mission, so nah. And really that is like that's planting the seed of like of Anakin turning to the dark side, and then you do see that over the course of the 3 movies he is continually betrayed by these people who just kind of picked him up and were like, you're part of our gang now. So that's the part of the prequels I really appreciate, and I guess because the payoff is in Revenge of the Sith, I'll put that one in Padawan. That's a busy category. I swear I love Star Wars. I do love Star Wars.
The evidence is against you.
They just still have to hang out there.
So the final film, the one that I feel like polarizes a lot of Star Wars fans, especially when it came out. I remember seeing a lot of different things on social media about it. The Last Jedi. What are your thoughts on that?
It's like the best one. Well, Empire Strikes is the best one. Last Jedi is the second best one. To me, it's my second best favorite. I just think the writing brilliant, the themes brilliant, the characterization brilliant, the cinematography, like there are some really beautiful moments, some really beautiful, like genuinely really beautifully composed shots in that film that I think surpass even the original films. Like there's beautiful filmmaking in The Last Jedi, and like I don't know, everyone always gets mad about Luke, but his character arc made such perfect sense to me because like as we discussed with the prequels, like the Jedis are not this perfect gang of perfect people. They are incredibly flawed, and the point of kind of like the entire point of the Jedi and the idea of the light side of the Force is that it's not like the Jedi are just not the equivalent of being good and heroic. It is like it's basically monkhood, a kind of monkhood and a religious group, and there's sort of a responsibility and a pressure that's put on anyone who becomes a Jedi. And like as we all know from I don't know personal experience, history, like people who have incredible amounts of pressure put on them like are very liable to crack, are very liable to make mistakes, to grow jaded, and so I think it made total sense to me that Luke would, having experienced everything that he experienced with like his dad and Palpatine, like we have to remember that he went through some like real bad shit. His head got fucking cut off. Like, he's kind of dealing with all that trauma and the fear that he is gonna turn into his dad. I mean, imagine that preying on your mind constantly, and then you're put in charge of training your nephew. You're gonna be terrified every single day of your life. So of course he messed up, and of course he felt terrible about it afterwards. So that character arc I thought was beautiful, and the way that he works through that trauma, he works through that disappointment with himself and comes out the other end being the hero and like getting his moment of, I mean, that's the thing, it's not redemption, it's just getting his moment of like, oh yeah, like this is who Luke Skywalker is. I remember who I am again, and that's really empowering. So I think that whole storyline is great. I think the relationship between Rey and Kylo is really beautifully done because it is, again, I don't know, I just feel like Rian Johnson really understood like how George Lucas conceives of the Force in a way that is maybe not so present in Force Awakens or Rise of Skywalker, which I think has quite a simplistic view of like good and bad, heroes and villains, and like, you know, Kylo Ren is bad but now he's good and it's all great, instead of what I think The Last Jedi did so beautifully is Kylo Ren sort of at the end of that movie, like he's sort of rejected both, because he says like, you know, that moment where they're confronting each other after the throne room fight, and he's like, I can't remember what he says exactly now. He's like, you know, fuck this. Like, we don't need any of this. Let's just go. The two of us. Like, I don't care about the light side or the dark side. It doesn't matter to me. It's all nonsense. Which again is really understandable for that character. And I really thought that in The Rise of Skywalker they were gonna do something with it. And that like Rey was gonna, I know there's like the concept of gray Jedis, but I really thought that what was so beautiful about The Last Jedi was building to this idea of like the moral binary of light and dark is really simplistic, and the pressure to be either or is like really suffocating. And that's why Luke went through all that shit. It's really hard to just be the hero all the time. And I think Rey was really dealing with that. Like she had these dark impulses, as we see in the cave in Acto. And so it really seems like a cool way to end that trilogy would have been to have some sort of moment of like, oh, I have to be both. And we're not doing Jedi and Sith anymore. Like that's over, because like that can't maintain itself, because it's always just going to go back and forth. So I don't know. I think the storytelling is beautiful. I think it makes total sense in the Star Wars canon. I don't understand these arguments about it not making sense. I think it fits in really well.
Cool.
So yeah, sorry, Grandmaster. Sorry if it didn't come across that. I love
Sorry, yeah, no, just double checking. Grandmaster. Perfect. So that is your list. So as we discussed earlier in the video, me and Davey now get to move one of these.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is going to be tricky, because I have to say a lot of what you said is sort of similar to what I feel. I think Empire Strikes Back is probably the best. The Last Jedi, I think, although I don't love it, I think I really respect that it tried something different, and I'm really gutted they didn't carry that over, which is why I'm not a huge fan of Rise of Skywalker. All the rest is pretty spot on. I think the one I'm going to move, though, which is a personal favorite of mine, which I think is criminally underrated, is Solo. I really like this film. I really do think it's underrated. And I think when you consider the problems that it had in production, I think the fact that it managed to come out as well as it did, I think it's really good. So I don't think it's great, so I'm not going to move it up to the top, but I'm going to pop it in Master, because I think it is on par with The Force Awakens.
You know what? I respect that. I go through cycles with Solo, because there are days where I go, oh yeah, it is really fun. I always forget how much fun it is and how great the cast are. And then other days I remember I remember the Solo line and I go, why? So
okay, like Connor said, I agree really. When I first saw The Last Jedi, I wasn't a fan. I didn't see it when it came out at the cinema, and maybe I sort of missed the big screen experience, and I was just bored, if anything else. But I watched it a couple of weeks ago for a second time, and I loved it. So had I not have done that, I would have moved it down. I will move The Rise of Skywalker up to Jedi Knight, just because I think, if nothing else, I mean, it's flawed, but if nothing else, for me, it's fun, perhaps where the prequels aren't.
Yeah, that is also fair. I do love Babu Frick. Maybe it deserves to be moved up just because of Babu.
No, it doesn't, is the honest answer to that. This is all opinions, but unfortunately, Davey, yours is wrong. So there we have it. That was us ranking every Star Wars film with Clarisse Loughrey. A massive thank you to her and you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.